Everyone, I'm Hannah. So thankful to be asked by Val to speak. Um, I was very fortunate to hear about your meeting from um, another friend of Asian descent who lives in Europe. So she said, I can't make the meeting because of the time change. Maybe you would like this. So I'm really happy to have found you guys and um, and thank you for being a part of my recovery. So, how life started, or before I even got here, my parents immigrated from Hong Kong, and they first ended up in Canada, and then they moved to Minnesota. And they lived in Minneapolis, and then when I was 4 years old, we moved to a suburb, and we were the first Chinese family, first Asian family in an all-white neighborhood. So it was really um, kind of breaking the glass ceiling, I guess, in that way. And but along with that comes a lot of discrimination, a lot of bullying, and that was hard. But I think what was even harder was, facing that outside of my home, but then coming home and dealing with the disease of alcoholism. My dad was very angry, very violent. Um, it was like living in survival mode. I often describe it as living in a landmine. Like you just are tiptoeing, you're walking on eggshells, and you don't know what could happen because the rules change every day. And with the disease of alcoholism, and it's a very cunning, baffling, and powerful disease that we learn about in the program. And so there, I was very angry at God that I was born Chinese. I felt so different. I felt so alienated, and then being further alienated in my family. And I was the firstborn. It was pretty much well known that I was a disappointment because my mom wanted a firstborn son. And then after me came my sister. And she tried one more time. And she did get her son finally. So there was a lot of favoritism towards my brother. He was supposed to bring fame and glory to the family. That was his job in life. He had no other option except for to be a lawyer or a doctor. Those was only two options he was allowed, and now he's a lawyer. So, and anyway, so in a way, like, even though he got all that pressure, I felt neglected. And in a way, I feel like I was the lucky one in that, because he has his own demons to deal with, having so much pressure on him all his life. So, and how I dealt with alcoholism was really fantasy. I was very obsessed with TV families. I fantasized about being part of the Brady Bunch, and I loved fairy tales. The whole Prince Charming comes to save me, and I really wished, hoped, fantasized that would happen, that I would be taken away from this home life. And but now I realize in program that fantasy kept me alive through that, because I could not really deal with it. My sister, on the other hand, she was kind of the one who got in trouble a lot, ran away from home, vandalized and stole and got arrested and all that. And she ended up taking her life at the age of 16. And I remember being really upset that she did it first, and that she beat me to it, because I was suicidal as well. And then I realized I felt like I couldn't do it, because then I couldn't put my brother through that and leave him all alone. So then I go on through get into adulthood and I start to really, again, with the fantasy, make boys and men my higher power. And I was constantly looking. I was pretty desperate for love. And what's interesting is I didn't really realize until just recently that because I only had my family as far as Asians, we're in Minnesota, like halfway around the world from my relatives who were in Hong Kong. I never met them. Some of them would come visit, for a little bit, but I never really met my cousins until I was 19 or 20. And so what I internalized was that, oh, this is what Chinese men are. They're the abusers, they're the drinkers, they're the angry ones. Because the white families in our neighborhood, it was suburban. It was just Beaver Cleaver. When I'd be at their house, it was very Norman Rockwell. And I thought, wow, I really believed that that was a cultural thing. So I thought, well, I know how to escape this. Marry a white guy or something, assimilate towards that. And then I heard stories about my uncles and aunts in Hong Kong and how there was a lot of drama and violence and drinking and beatings and all that. And I thought, yeah, this is the cultural thing. And so I rejected that a lot. I rejected the whole thing along with it and said, I'm never going to be like that. So anyway, I go on with my life. I start making men my higher power, man after man after man, my higher power. This one will love me. And we all know how that works out. Totally not the happy ending. But what I kept thinking was, oh, well, another relationship fails. Okay, well, on to the next one. This guy will love me, into being, and that didn't work. All right, we'll go on to the next one. And it was a breakup that got me into Al-Anon the first time, and I really didn't work the program. I wasn't interested in the steps. I didn't care about the literature. I wasn't going to get a sponsor. I just want to vent. That's all I want to do. I just came once a week, let me vent about how horrible my parents are. And then I'd come back the next week and do it again. And I felt a little better And then, so I meet the next guy, the next higher power. He's the one now. And so I thought, well, I don't need Al-Anon now. See, I got my Prince Charming. And that relationship was super awesome in the beginning. It was like, cloud nine. I was so happy. And then that was the first 6 months. And the second 6 months, it completely changed, where it really just went downhill really fast. And 6 months after that, he broke up with me. And for some reason, the whole routine of, oh, I'll just get the next guy, didn't work. For some reason, that was my bottom. I immediately thought, oh, I'm unlovable. That's why no next guy is going to help me, because even though all these guys tried to love me, I'm just unlovable, so it must be me. And I became suicidal and thought, because when you make men your higher power and they reject you, I mean, what's worse than that? I'm pretty hopeless at that point. And I must be really, crappy. I must be a piece of crap or something, because no one is the Prince Charming, and it must be my fault. So I did pull a phone list from from the first time I was in Al-Anon, called someone, and she let me call her for the next few days. And then I got back into the program. Then I was desperate. I was given that gift of desperation, and I was going to, it was really, really, truly a matter of life or death. So I can stay in this program. I will do what you tell me to. I'll work the steps. I'll get a sponsor. I'll go to meetings every day. And that's what I did. And I was so desperate. I was willing to do that. So that was like really step one. Like I was super powerless. And then I asked her to be my sponsor, and she agreed. And when it came to my fourth step, I didn't want to tell her all these things I did, these horrible things I did, some choices that I made, like, I did anything to get attention from men. So I did some things. I was the other women in some relationships. I cheated myself. I mean, it's just there was just so many things that I was ashamed of. And when I told her, I was really scared. And she said to me, she goes, "Of course you did those things. You were desperate for love. How else would you have behaved?" And when she said that, that was like the beginning of being able to forgive myself. That I was desperate for love. That was so true. And then I continued to work the program. When I was in my second step, I did not have a good relationship with God. I believed God was out to get me. I believed in a loving God, but he loved you and not me. So again, I'm still feeling unlovable. So, and she said, we're working on trying to find a God of my understanding. She said, "What do you think about a male God?" And I'm like, "No, absolutely not. I don't want a male God. They used me, abused me, betrayed me, lied to me, cheated on me. No." And then she said, "Well, how do you feel about a female God?" And like, "Oh no, I hate women more than men." So that's and I like, and she's like, "Well, okay. And then let's start with the qualities of your dog. Because you have a male dog, you have a female dog, and they've never hurt me. They're loyal, they're unconditional love, they're happy to see me." So I had to start with those qualities to kind of start this journey of finding a higher power of my understanding. And that helped. And then it evolved. And, so with the program, I've been able to really heal a lot of that. And, the thing is about being an adult child is that I kept planning my escape at 18. Like, when I'm 18, I'm out of here. And I moved to a bunch of states within 2 years thinking I escaped. But the thing is that we talk about the geographical cure, and the depression still followed me. So, so I had to really stop and work on myself. And just because I'm out of the home that I grew up in with alcoholism, I'm still affected. And I was still given these unhealthy tools in which to do life. And so what the program does for me is it gives me healthy tools now that I can apply to life. And for me, it is a daily work, because my character defects, although they're removed, they can come back if I don't take my, quote, daily medicine of program, because I have a disease. And I'll just close with, my time's almost up here, that, the first time I went to Al-Anon, it was all about just some pain relief, some temporary pain relief. And the second time, because I've stayed and worked the program and really got better, that's where I'm experiencing the miracles and the gifts that the program has to offer. And I don't know if you're familiar with the reading in one of our books, From Survival to Recovery. On page 269, there's a list of things that if you keep working this program, these are the things that can happen for you: joy, serenity, wonder, spiritual progress, worthiness, and I I can say that I do experience these things much more. I'm a much more happier person. I have a relationship with my higher power, and there was someone said in a meeting that I go to meetings to feel better, but I work the program to get better, and so that is the difference for me. It's more than just pain relief. Now I have freedom, I have joy, I have happiness. And that is because of working this program. So with that, I will pass. And again, so grateful to be here and to be able to share with you. And Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for letting me share.